So once again today we will be doing a detailed discussion about another 10 questions that I have taken. But this time not like what we had done in the previous class. We were discussing about JEE Mains. This time I thought of discussing some questions from JEE Advanced pattern. Okay. So here also I have taken a few questions which are from past year papers, a few questions which I found to be good enough that they can be asked in exam. So we'll be discussing all those questions in details today. But before I proceed on with the session, first of all I would like to give you an idea about what kind of questions you will be getting. So in today's session we will be discussing the questions that will be of multiple types. Multiple types means there will be a few questions which will be single correct answers. There will be a few questions which are multi-correct answers, so more than one correct answer is there. A few questions are there which are assertion reason questions, so there will be two statements, statement 1, statement 2 given to you, and you have to pick up the correct answer. Okay. So all those different types of questions will be discussed today. So without any further time, let's directly move on to our question number 1. Okay, so this is the question number 1 on screen which you can see, and the question says that which of the following oxide is a neutral oxide. That means you have to talk about the neutral oxides. Listen to me very carefully. When I was talking about oxides in my session, then I told you that the oxide is of 4 different types. You may be talking about acidic, you may be talking about basic oxides, you can be talking about amphoteric, and the 4th type that has been asked in the question is the oxides which are neutral. So acidic oxides and basic oxides are very easy, so they are very clear to everyone. But when it comes to be talking about amphoteric and neutral oxides, many of you people do blunder. Amphoteric oxides are basically those oxides which can be acting as acid as well as base. So they can react both with base and they can react both with acids also. Okay, so those kind of oxides are known as amphoteric oxides, and the very common example was this zinc oxide. Or the another example that we had done was Al2O3. Fine. But when I am talking about this category of oxides, only 3 oxides are known as neutral oxides. Neutral oxides, as per the name suggests, are those oxides which have no tendency to react either with an acid or to react either with a base. Okay. So neutral oxides are the ones which do not react with both acids and bases. Okay, so they won't be reacting with acids and bases, and there were 3 examples of neutral oxide that I will be discussing. First was, let me write it in Hindi, Has, No, Maro. For those students who do not understand Hindi, let me just write it, Has, No, Maro. Okay, so Has is Hasna, smiling, right? This is laughing gas. And laughing gas is having the formula N2O. NO is nitrogen monoxide, and Maro. Maro is the one which we say that you die because of this particular gas, which is carbon monoxide. So these 3 are the major basic, these are the oxides which are actually neutral. So now let's pick up the answer. Carbon monoxide is yes the option, not SNO2, not SiO2. So the correct answer for our first question is the first option itself, which is option number A. Fine. So do remember these 3 names, N2O, NO and CO. These are the ones which are neutral oxides. So question number 1 is done, and I think everyone is okay with this question. So note it down, and now let me show you on the screen the next question, which is our question number 2. Okay, so when I am moving on to my next question, the question says that you need to identify the least stable ion among the following. So 4 options are given and we need to pick up the least stable ion. Okay, let me first write. So we have lithium, which is electronic configuration 1s2, 2s1. And if one electron, the 2s1 electron is removed from lithium, it will get converted into lithium plus, which is 1s2, which is quite stable because it resembles to the noble gas configuration, right? So this is not the least stable ion, that is for sure. Moving on to the next option, which is Be minus. So let's talk about the next option. So beryllium earlier could be written as 1s2, 2s2. Now this 1s2, 2s2 will accept an electron to form Be minus, which is 1s2, 2s2, 2p1. This I will say is not very much stable, because from a stable configuration which was fully filled s orbital, now it is coming to a singly occupied p orbital. So it's not very good. Let me just make a blank smiley. I don't know whether this is the least one or not, but this is not stable at least, right? Then this is question mark, I'm not sure. Let's move on to B minus. So see, boron is 1s2, 2s2, 2p1. Now when you have to add one electron, it will form B minus 1s2, 2s2, 2p2. Now you know, if I compare, so here boron was having 2p1, okay. I mean, it was not very stable, and you are adding one more electron, it is not becoming very much unstable also, right? So earlier someone is like rich, okay, and you are taking 10 rupees from that rich person. He will still be rich, right? But if from a person who is just having 11 rupees, you are taking 10 rupees out of it, now it will be having just 1 rupee. So that effect will be more, right? So when I compare beryllium and boron, or when I say comparing Be minus and B minus, I will say this is still happier compared to Be minus, okay. Now moving on, so this is also not the option. Now moving on to C minus, so carbon was 1s2, 2s2, 2p2. Now it accepted one electron to form C minus, which is 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. And now carbon says, whoa, I am half filled, exactly half filled, so I am very happy. Right? So carbon is out of the box because happy, happy. Out of these two, this is still happier because earlier also it was happy, now it is happy. But if I compare Be minus, this is sad. Why? Earlier it was happy enough, quite stable, much more stable. Now it got one electron and everything in his life was ruined, right? So the correct answer will not be even C minus. Our correct option for this particular question is option number B. Clear? So this was about our second question. Now we need to move on to our third question. You just need to give me a minute. Let me clear the board, and then we will be starting with our question number third. So now on the screen you will be able to see our third question, and the question goes like this. Sodium sulfate is soluble in water. Let me write the data here. Sodium sulfate is Na2SO4 and this is water soluble. Okay, whereas barium sulfate is sparingly soluble. Barium is BaSO4 and this is sparingly soluble. Sparingly soluble means not much of BaSO4 that you will be adding to water will be dissolved in water. Now the question says the hydration energy of sodium sulfate is more than its lattice energy. Okay, before I move on to the discussion about the answer, before I move on to listing down the options, let me just tell you something related to solubility. This we have already discussed when we were doing the chapter. So just as a brief thing, let me just give you an idea. When I am talking about the solubility of any particular compound in water, we need to compare two different energies. The first energy is our hydration energy and the second energy is our lattice energy. Right? So there will be a competition between these two. There will be a competition between the hydration energy and the second one, which is lattice energy. So see, if the ionic compound is having a high value of lattice energy, that means that particular ionic compound would love to remain in the solid state. Right? However, just imagine the situation when an ionic compound is getting dissolved in water. Then the ions will be formed, and if the ions will be formed, they will be attracting lots of water molecules towards themselves, and when lots of water molecules will be attracted, then you can say energy will be released. This is what is hydration energy, right? So in any case where hydration energy is more than, so let me just now write down, so let me quote it here. So if hydration energy will be more than lattice energy, I will say the compound will be soluble, right? Lattice energy is energy required to break a compound. Hydration energy is energy released when a compound is dissolved in water. However, if hydration energy is lesser than lattice energy, then the compound will be either sparingly soluble or it will be insoluble. Right? So this is all the detail that we already have discussed in our session. Now if I use the details for the options that are given to me, the first it says that hydration energy of sodium sulfate is more than its lattice energy. And yes, that's a cool fact. If Na2SO4 is water soluble, then genuinely the hydration energy will be greater than lattice energy. Okay, point number 1 is correct. Moving on to the next option, the lattice energy of barium sulfate is more than its hydration energy. Yes, that is the reason. If lattice energy is more than hydration energy, right, then only it will be sparingly soluble. So if I have written sparingly soluble when lattice is more than hydration. So even this is the correct option. Let's just read out the third option. The lattice energy has no role to play in solubility. I mean, this is the worst option I could see. No, because I have explained the entire role here, right? So it has a role to play. Fourth is the hydration energy of sodium sulfate is less than its lattice energy. No. So it's just the opposite of first factor, right? So neither option number C nor option number D will give us the correct answer, but option number A and B will be the correct options for these for this particular question. Good enough. So it was a good concept and a really good question. So maybe you can try more such questions by your own, because this concept of hydration and lattice energy is really an important concept when it comes to JEE Advanced. Okay, so try more of such questions by yourself. Now if I move on to the next question. So this time the next question says, the following acids have been arranged in the order of decreasing acidic strength. So let me just write down decreasing acidic nature. Okay, and you need to identify the correct order, and let's just read out the options. The first is ClOH. The second is BrOH, and the third is IOH. Okay. See, the question can be answered in two different ways. First, I'll start by first method. And the first method to answer the question is in the terms of bond length. So let's say XOH. This compound XOH can be acting as an acid or it can act as a base depending upon the bond length between XO and OH. Fine. Now see, if you compare the bond length XO, if XO is a longer bond and OH is a smaller bond, so if it is smaller, it must be stronger. Then when you dissolve it in water, this bond will break up. and if this bond breaks up, you will be getting X plus and OH minus. Okay, that means the compound having XO bond quite longer or quite weak will be taking it to the direction that as if it is behaving as a base in nature. Okay, so if you compare ClO, BrO, IO, genuinely you can say when you go down the group, the size of iodine is biggest, then Br is bigger, and chlorine is just big, right? So this bond length is longer. Longer means it can break easily. So if it is breaking easily, IOH will be acting as a base. So if IOH will be a good base, it will be a weaker acid. Okay, and ClOH will be the strongest acid. So according to this, ClOH will be strongest, then BrOH, then IOH. So A should be the correct option. So this is first explanation. Now if I move on to the second explanation, see here carefully. I can say, depending upon the electronegativity of this atom X. So see, this O will have a delta minus, H will have a delta plus, quite okay. And now this pair of electron will be more towards oxygen and less towards hydrogen. So when I say that chlorine is a more electronegative atom, so chlorine being a more electronegative atom will try to attract the shared pair towards itself, which in turn will force this oxygen to attract more of shared pair towards itself. And thus hydrogen will be left with very little electron density. So when hydrogen will be left with very little electron density, it can easily be lost in the form of ClO minus and H plus. And thus ClOH will be taken as a good acid. Okay. However, if you compare BrOH and IOH, Br is having lesser electronegativity. So now Br won't be able to take up that many electrons from BrO bond, and the same goes with IO bond also. Okay. So on the basis of these two explanations, we can get a common answer as option number A, which is the correct answer for this particular question that we had discussed. Okay. Now done with question number 4 also, let's just move on to the next question, which is our question number 5. Okay, so let me just read out the question for you. Question number 5 says that, which of the following has maximum number of unpaired electrons? So you need to calculate the number of unpaired electrons, and the best possible way is to write down the electronic configuration by first writing down the atomic number and then calculate. That's it. So moving on, first let's go on to magnesium, atomic number 12, which is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2. And when I'm talking about magnesium 2 plus, these two electrons will go away and you will be left with 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. All are paired, so 0 unpaired electron. So magnesium 2 plus will not be an answer. Next, we need to move on to titanium. Next, we need to move on to vanadium, and then we have iron. So if you remember the atomic numbers, cool. If you do not remember, you should remember Saraswati teri vandana kare, man fir kyun nahi kuch jane, right? So scandium is 21, 22. Titanium is 22. Vanadium you can see is 23. So 24, 25, 26. And as per you know, the only different electronic configuration is adopted by chromium, not by iron, manganese and all. So iron is 26. Let's first write down 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d. Now see, this is 10, this is 20 and 3d2 because titanium is 22. Done? Now moving on to vanadium, 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, then we have 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, And since vanadium is 23, so 3d3. Okay, this is also okay. Now moving on to electronic configuration of iron. So iron will again be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. So if you don't want to write, you can avoid, you can skip writing down this 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. This is easy. But still I have to explain it, so I am explaining the details. 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d6. Okay. Now let's talk about the electronic configuration of ions. Titanium is 3+. So let's remove 3 electrons. 2 these are gone and 1 4s is gone. So overall we will be having 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. This is completely paired, of no use. Then I have 3s2, 3p6 and 4s1. Right? Now 3s2, 3p6 are paired. The only single electron is 4s1. So overall 1 unpaired electron. Okay? Moving on to the next option, which is vanadium 3+. So let's remove all the 3 electrons. Gone. So we are left with just 3s2, 3p6, 4s2. Once again, no unpaired electron. So neither V3+ could be answer. Now if I move on to iron, and for iron we need to take out 2 electrons. So when you take out 2 electrons, you will be getting 3d4. So 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d4. And according to Aufbau's principle, Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity and Pauli's exclusion principle, we have already studied. When 4 electrons will be there, first of all will be singly occupied. So this will be 4 unpaired. So just with the solution, you can see neither this and just Fe2+ will be the one having maximum number of unpaired electrons. So this was our question number 5. I don't think it was that difficult a question. I mean, it was easy, provided that you should not be doing any kiddish or stupid mistake, right? So let's do one thing. First of all, I want you to note down this thing, and then we will be moving on to the 6th question. Fine? So I think if I'll rub here this side, you would have written that side of the board. Okay. So now moving on to the next question, which is our question number 6. And the question says that the correct order of acidic strength is. So we need to talk about acidic strength. Now when I talk about acidic strength, you must be aware that I could be talking about the Lewis acidic character, right? So when I talk about acids, I can be talking about Lewis acids. And you know the definition of Lewis acids, right? So Lewis acids are the ones which are having deficiency of electrons. So if there will be deficiency of electrons, then they could be termed as Lewis acids, right? Now listen here, let us go for the first option, which is Cl2O7. Then we have SO3, then we have P4O10. So first what I'll ask you to do, I'll just ask you to do the calculation of oxidation state. So first let us go for Cl2O7. Consider the oxidation state of chlorine as X. So 2x minus 14 is 0. This comes out to be X is equal to 7. So chlorine is having +7 oxidation state in the case of Cl2O7. Now if I talk about SO3, so in the case of SO3, consider X to be the oxidation state of sulfur. So X minus 6 is 0 and X is equal to +6. So the oxidation state of sulfur in SO3 is +6. Okay. Like this, if I ask you to do the calculation for oxidation state of phosphorus in P4O10, how will you do? So we have P4O10, 4x minus 20 is 0, 4x is 20 and x is equal to +5. So this is the value of oxidation state of the central atom in all the 3 compounds given. Okay. Now you can see, right, When chlorine is having a maximum oxidation state which is +7, so there will be maximum deficiency of electrons. And when there will be maximum deficiency of electrons, it will have maximum Lewis acid character. Maximum Lewis acid character means it will be the strongest acid. However, when you go from Cl2O7 to SO3 to P4O10, the positive oxidation state decreases. That means the deficiency of electrons decreases, the Lewis acidic character decreases. So the correct order will be Cl2O7 greater or a stronger acid compared to SO3 compared to P4O10. Okay, so option number A is correct. Now let me just give you an idea about other options as well. On the same principle, if I ask you to compare carbon dioxide and SO3, you know, right, SO3 is an acidic gas. Once again, sulfur is having +6 oxidation state. But in carbon dioxide, it is just having +4 oxidation state. So obviously, SO3 will be a stronger acid compared to CO2. Moreover, when you dissolve CO2 in water, you get H2CO3, carbonic acid. Whereas when you dissolve SO3 in water, you get H2SO4, sulfuric acid. And you know sulfuric acid is a stronger acid, right? So option number B is not correct. Clear? Now the same way, if you move on to the other two options, and since the question is single correct, so let me not be explaining the other options because we have totally got the answer as option number A. Clear? So this was our question number 6, pretty easy. And yes, a new concept was used here. Now we need to move on to our next question, which is our question number 7. Okay, so this is just the detail of what you will be getting in question 7. This is assertion reason question. And as per I have discussed these kind of questions in earlier chapters also. So you have to read the question and then answer per the direction given below, right? The direction are two statements will be given. If statement 1 is true and statement 2 is also true, and statement 2 is correct explanation of statement 1, then you need to mark option number A, and the same goes for B, C, D. This you already know, right? Let me directly move on to the question. So question says that statement 1, Pb plus 4 compounds are stronger oxidizing agents than Sn plus 4 compound. That means he is talking about group number 14. So this is कैसी गई संन्यास लेने पहुंची पब में, right? And if I write down the oxidation state, the preferable oxidation state, this should be +4, +4, it is okay with +4, +2 but wants +4. This is okay with +4, +2 but wants +2, and lead can only have +2 oxidation state, right? And if I'm not wrong, I think I have given you this explanation also, that when you go down the group, the stability of maximum oxidation state decreases, and then the stability of max -2 oxidation state increases, okay? And this all was given the reason because of inert pair effect. And why this is so? This is because when you go down the group, the outermost NS electrons, NS2 electrons will be reluctant in taking part in bonding because of the poor shielding of D and F electrons which are present, right? Because of which they will be coming closer to the nucleus and they will have little tendency to take part in bonding. So if I am comparing the stability of Pb plus 4 to accept 2 electrons to form Pb plus 2, or if I compare Sn plus 4 to accept 2 electrons and form Sn plus 2, then the first reaction will be a quicker reaction, right? It will take place quickly. Why? Because Pb plus 4 is not stable, it actually wants to accept 2 electron and form Pb2 plus. That means Pb plus 4 wants to undergo oxidation. And when Pb plus 4 compounds want to undergo oxidation, so they are stronger, So they themselves want to undergo reduction, so they will be called as stronger oxidizing agent. So this is for sure that our statement number 1 is completely correct. So first statement is correct. Moving on to the second statement, the higher oxidation states for group number 14 elements are more stable than the for the heavier members of the group due to inert pair effect. This is a wrong statement. Let's read the statement again. The statement says that the higher oxidation state, that means the maximum oxidation state, which is +4, of group number 14 elements are more stable for heavier elements. No, I am saying a lower oxidation state will be more stable for heavier elements. So statement number 2 is incorrect. So now let me go to the previous slide. So when statement 1 is true and statement 2 is false, then option number C could be considered as the correct option for this particular question. Right? Again, an easy question, not a tough thing, not a difficult one. So I think this is also done. Let me clear the board and go on to the next question. Okay. So now moving on to our next question, which is question number 8. So once again, this question number 8 is a statement question. The first statement says that the first ionization energy of beryllium is greater than that of boron. Let's see. So we have beryllium 1s2, 2s2, boron 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 1. Yes, this is quite an obvious statement. Since beryllium is smaller in size, not only this, since beryllium is having only 2 electrons, it's there in a completely filled 2s orbital. So yes, it's very difficult to remove an electron from beryllium compared to the removal of electron from boron. However, I can say it is very easy to remove an electron from boron compared to beryllium, because if this electron is going away, boron will also be becoming stable as beryllium. So first statement is true. Moving on to the next statement, 2p orbital is lower in energy than 2s orbital. This is a wrong statement. See, the energy of orbital is given by n plus L rule, right? We have studied in atomic structure. So if I write S, P, D, the L value will be 0, 1, 2. So if I write 2s, it will be 2 plus 0, 2. And if I write 2p, it will be 2 plus 1, 3. So the energy of 2s, the smaller the value of n plus L, the smaller will be energy of the orbital. So 2s will be lower in energy than 2p. So this is once again a false statement, right? So 1 is true, second is false. So again option number C will be the correct option. Okay, not difficult again. Finally, we are done with 8th question also. Let's clear the board and move on to the 9th question. Okay, so see, you are having more than one correct answer for this particular question, as well as for question number 10th also. So let's read out the question. The question says, the first ionization potential of nitrogen and oxygen atoms are related. So you just have to talk about ionization potential of nitrogen and oxygen. Let me first start by writing electronic configuration. 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 3. 1s2, 2s2, 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 4. See, the first thing that I'll say is, let's read down the option. The ionization potential of oxygen is less than the ionization potential of nitrogen. Yes, that is correct. Why? Because nitrogen is completely having a half-filled p orbital, which is totally symmetrical, more stable. So more energy will be required in the case of nitrogen to remove an electron. So the ionization potential of oxygen will be lesser than that of nitrogen. That's correct. The second, now see, since it's more than one correct answer, so you need to go through all the options. Second is, the ionization potential of nitrogen is greater than the ionization potential of oxygen. I mean, give me a break if I read the option again. It's the same option written in a different manner. The ionization potential of oxygen is less than nitrogen, and the second says ionization potential of nitrogen is greater than that of oxygen. Same thing, right? So yes, this is also correct. Now see, I'll tell you one thing. Why did I take this particular question? Because actually it happens in exam that a similar, let's say, option will be repeated just in a different English way. Okay, so don't get confused how he can ask the two same things. It happens and you need to just go through it. I mean, just move on. Fine. Third is, the two ionization values are comparable. Yes, they are comparable. You can compare the two ionization energy value, because if one is 2.96 volt, other may be 2.90 electron volt. So yes, the two will be comparable. And the fourth is, the difference between the two ionization energy potential is too large. No, since both of them belong to the same period and they are just adjacent atoms, so they will not be having a very high difference in the ionization potential. There will be a flaw, but the flaw or the difference will be almost negligible. Not negligible, but yes, it will be comparable. Okay. So with this particular question, we are done with our 9th question, the second last question also. Now we need to move on to our last question. Let me just read out the statement. And the question is, the ionic radius of, so these are the 4 options which are given to you and you need to compare which out of 4 is correct. Fine. Let's start one by one. We have titanium and we have manganese. Manganese is +7 and titanium is +4. Okay. Now see, if manganese is having a higher positive charge, let me just compare once again. If I write Saraswati Teri Vandana Kare Man. Okay. So we have 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Okay. So earlier manganese was having 25 protons and 25 electrons, out of which manganese lost a total of 7 electrons, but still it is having 25 protons. Okay. And in the case of titanium, it was having 22 protons and 22 electrons, out of which it lost 4 electrons, and now it is having 22 protons and 18 electrons. Okay. So 22 protons will be holding a total of 18 electrons, right? Whereas if I talk about manganese, then 25 protons were earlier holding 25 electrons, but now they are holding 7 less electrons. So see here carefully. Don't you think that more will be the positive charge on the ion, lesser will be the number of electrons in the final ion, right, compared to the number of protons. So now the protons will be holding or will be gripping the left out electrons very strongly, and the electrons will be closer to the nucleus. And when I say electrons go closer to the nucleus, the atomic size or the ionic size should be less. Here it says that titanium +4 will be smaller than manganese +7. It should be the opposite one. So first is wrong. Okay. Moving on to the second option, Cl35 is negative is lesser or is having a smaller size compared to Cl37. Now guys, this is a good option. So this option is actually talking about the isotopes. See, isotopes are the atoms of the element having same atomic number but different atomic masses. This has got nothing to do with the atomic size. I mean, there is just the difference in the number of neutrons. and they will not be playing a major role in deciding the size. It has got nothing to do with size. So when you compare the sizes of anion, Cl minus, Cl minus, but different isotopes, you cannot compare. So they will be same. Fine? So this is also not the correct option. Now we have potassium plus is smaller than or is greater than chlorine minus. So see, potassium and chlorine. So chlorine is having 17 protons and potassium was having 19 protons. Now I am talking about potassium plus and chlorine minus. So see, 19 protons will be holding 18 electrons, 17 protons will be holding 18 electrons. So when the number of protons will be more, right, then they will be able to hold the same number of electrons more tightly. So I should be saying the size of K plus should be lesser than the size of Cl minus. But what has been said is K plus is greater than Cl minus, so this is again wrong. Okay? But now if I compare the fourth option, which is phosphorus 3 plus and phosphorus plus 5. This is a pretty simple option and a good one. So see, phosphorus is having 15 protons, number of protons is same. When I am talking about P3 plus, so overall 12 electrons, P plus 5, 10 electrons. So don't you think 15 protons will be able to grip 10 electrons more strongly? So 10 electrons will be closer to the nucleus, and hence the size of P plus 5 will be smaller than the size of P plus 3. So we can say option number D will be the correct option for this particular question. Okay. So with this thing, I think I have made the answer of all the 10 questions very nicely clear to you all, right? So guys, this was all about the 10 questions that I have taken from the chapter Periodic Classification of Elements and Periodicity in the Properties. I hope you would have understood all these questions. So not only with these questions, now I want you to revise the complete chapter, to do all the JEE Mains, JEE Advanced as well as CBSE questions. Once you will be done with the entire package, it will be your duty to solve the questions that we have given you. So make sure you do the solution of all the questions that will be given to you, then only you will be able to feel like properly confident with the chapter. Okay, so I hope that you will be doing the questions and come up with the doubts in case you have any doubts. Okay, so that's it for today. We'll be meeting once again in the next class. Till that time, take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.